my super crew. Today we're going to be replacing that pesky turbo inlet assembly. Let's see what we got. This is Perrin solution. It's a silicone hose. Now it's so long because it was originally designed to work with the factory intake that has a long plastic accordion hose that goes down here. So this is the factory turbo inlet assembly. It's only that long. So with my Mishimoto intake, I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to have to carefully trim that to fit properly, or whether how much of the intake we can shove down in there. Comes with the new flange, quite a bit wider on the inside, then tapers off on the turbo side. There's the hardware, the couplers, so couple there and a coupler there. This is going to be going back to that blow-off bypass valve portion of the front mount intercooler. So I'm probably just going to use a piece of PVC pipe to use in there so I can connect both ends, then worm gear clamp them. The GrimmSpeed boost controller is going to move down here, so there isn't a way to screw it in on the silicone, obviously, so we'll have to figure out some sort of other mounting solution, and that will hook in with this L bracket. All right, let's get this car put back together. So the problem I was having that I was talking about on the Tune Day video, so if you imagine this in the car, there was this support bracket that I had to remove to fit the intercooler piping in on the passenger side. So it was pretty much just being held up by the turbo inlet assembly. And under load, so on the right side, would be the turbo side, it was losing its seal. So it just has that little rubber gasket, not, you know, a full-on metal gasket. So it was losing its seal just slightly, like I could see through the crack where the seal was. And so that's how the car was suffocating. Hopefully we get a little better connection here, and I kind of have an idea to partially reuse this mounting bracket. I'm probably going to cut it in half so I have enough space for the intercooler piping and for the intake. I ordered this out of state, so it took like a week, 8 days to show up. I'm kind of wishing I had just ordered it locally from Rally Sport Direct, but anyway, save 50 bucks. So we'll see how this goes. Oh my God in heaven. You see this? You seeing this? Included instructions. Are you listening, ETS? Are you listening? Hey, look at that. Where to cut. Well, that's nice of them. This is the bracket I was talking about, shaven down, not the one actually on the intake itself. But as you can see here, I was playing around with this front mount intercooler pipe a little bit. See, it wants to sit up higher. Now, I moved this around a little so it's not sitting as straight as I would like it. And there's still no guarantee that this bypass back to the turbo inlet is going to line up properly with it at that angle. So I'm thinking if I could just cut off this bottom portion, it's not going to be as rigid. However, it's going to buy me another ½ inch there, and I'll still have a place to mount the intake so it's not bumping against that turbo inlet. Here's the bracket. I'm going to cut here and there and here. Take off this bottom piece, give us some more room. All right. I did have some double-sided tape on there so it wouldn't rub against the pipe. Now we got some extra room. I'll file these down. Boom. Okay, so since we have the front mount intercooler, we have this pipe that's going to be going from this end over there on the bypass valve. And then the other end is going to go up to here because of that relocation of the bypass valve. I picked up just a PVC piece of piping here. Looks like it's going to fit well in there. On the inside, there is a bit of a bezel in the center. I'm going to Dremel that smoother with our Dremel friend again. I've heard I may need to trim a little bit off of this piece as well, so we can get that connected and have clearance up here. I will test fit that. Okay, I put the flange on. That seal is going to transfer over from your stock piece, so I'll take that out, put it in here. So I centered this up with that line where that gasket is going to be going in the middle. We got our PVC pipe, and then so this will be going back to the bypass valve. So I'll test fit that. It may be going up too high and hitting the bottom of the car. Let's check. Okay, let me see if you can get a view of this. Again, we're going to trim that. So I'm seeing if the flange meets up with the turbo. Then we have that pipe in the back that's going to go back up here to the bypass valve. Now, technically, it is fitting, but it's a little tight. I'd prefer maybe if I trimmed ½ inch there, get a little more space. I'm going to trim about that much off the top here. I put the clamp around it so I can get somewhat of a decent circle. Try the X-Acto this time. Trimmed off this much. X-Acto knife for this thing. Perfect. That works super well. Got our PVC pipe back in. We'll test fit it again. Here's the bracket. Now that it's trimmed and sanded, I had some double-sided tape, so I wrapped it around this edge here, just in case we do have any fouling of the intercooler pipe right there. Let's put that piece back on. Now we're getting somewhere. See this extra clearance where the charge pipe's going, where that bracket would have been before? I think this is going to work. Okay, this is where I decided I am going to cut. Again, I put a band around to give me a good line as I cut. Now this part's a little tricky because it's where the pipe starts to bend. So I'll do my best, try to get a straight line across there. There we go. Cut down to size. Let's go try it out. Okay, I put the couplers on for these two guys as well. Down here is going to be our boost controller. So I'll remove it off of this old one. It's going to be tricky though, figuring out where to mount it. I might have to like tuck it into the body or something. I will find out when I get down there. I'm going to reuse these 10mm bolts that go through the flange onto the turbo side. I don't know why Perrin does this. These are these shitty little Allen key bolts that are round and you can't get a wrench on or a socket. So I'm not going to use them. Look at that crazy thing. See if I can fit it back up in there. Turbo flange. There's the intake hanging down. It's going to connect to the end of our new turbo inlet assembly, and that's the charge pipe. For the 2017 and up, there is this PCV sensor system. Perrin directions even say, this bracket band is very difficult to remove. I think it's like a ear clamp. So that is gonna suck sack. Let's see if we can get that off. Also, so once this white piece is removed, it says to remove the pins out of the connector and just put it back in here to kind of fool the sensor that it's still active. So you can pull it up from the top. There's just one hose holding bracket. Just take it off there. And as you can see, there's no easy way to get this off. I wonder if you have to get a pick or something in there to release the tension. Alright, that kind of sucked. So I just worked a screwdriver between where it clamps together till it finally popped off. So those connecting pins down in there, just gonna use something like this, see if I can pull those out. Alright, there's that little connector pulled out of the white piece. Then we're gonna fit that back into the electrical connector where it came from. So I pulled this connector up from underneath. As you can see, we just took that pin, put it back in there, then we're gonna electrical tape this up so it stays dry. I decided to plumb the GrimmSpeed boost control solenoid directly in to the turbo inlet, then hose clamp it down, as opposed to using the L pipe. I've seen some people had moved the boost controller and like mounted it up here or somewhere else, but seemed like this was a better solution for me. I had seen someone else had done this. Let's see if it holds tight. Everything else is back together. Fingers crossed. Oh my gosh, guys. Woo! I'm so relieved. Okay, so we got that new Perrin turbo inlet all installed. Double, triple checked all my vacuum lines, all my connections. So when I was coming back from the tune, I had an elbow silicone hose come off of one of the intercooler brackets. And it was sputtering, it was dying, sputtering, dying, sputtering, dying. I was able to finally limp it home. Luckily, I was close by. And so when I was first initially troubleshooting, once I got back that day, I was looking all around. All the vacuum lines were in place. And then I was looking between the turbo where the inlet attached. And that's where I got the idea to get that replacement piece because it wasn't sealing correctly against the turbo. Anyway, so over a week later, I get that part, I get it installed, start it up, same thing, sounds absolutely terrible, just sputtering, 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 dying, check engine codes everywhere, multiple misfires detected. I'm like, oh my gosh, I broke my car, no! So I'm like thinking about how I'm going to tow it and what I'm going to do. So I started thinking about it, and I don't know if this is the case, but perhaps when it lost that air connection on the intercooler, it might have went into a limp mode, made it change to some of the diagnostics on the ECU. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to try this. So I plug in my access port, I clear the codes, and I go back into my tunes and I reflash the tune from the tuner. And it's running now. It's running. I'm so happy. Oh, yeah, that got a little scary there for a second. So thanks for watching my video. I really appreciate you watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out.